Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the EPIC online meeting on UV LEDs. June 22nd, the EPIC online technology meetings continue. This time the topic of discussion is UV LEDs. Traditionally, this market was driven by the semiconductor industry. We needed to cure epoxy in a very reliable and fast way. But 2 years ago, we noticed something amazing in the market. There were new market drivers emerging. The world needed to be cleaner. The first uptakes were clinical environments. Then companies started to develop products for daily life, like toothbrushes, scissors. It was really a niche market. However, in 2020, the world fell apart. Everyday needs for a clean, safe environment changed dramatically. So what do? Well, we do best at EPIC. We partnered with the IUVA Association. We contacted all the key manufacturers of UV LEDs, companies like Nichia, Bolb, Seoul, Viosys, Crystal IS, and we asked them the EPIC question: what can you do for them, and what can they do for you? We want to discuss challenges and opportunities in the field of packaging, testing, addition of micro-optics, system integration, and at the same time, we're going to have end users tell us about new application fields in the field of agriculture, in the field of security, semiconductors, purification. It's going to be epic. So let's do UV LED business. Put this in your agenda. Monday, June 22nd, 3 p.m. Central European Time. See you there. Thank you very much for being here this afternoon. We are all here. We are all here because we have something in common, which is that we cannot do anything alone. We need partners. We need partners to make our dreams come true. And we have here the whole supply chain from micro-optics. My friend Mark Wielands from Liège is there looking at me, smiling with beautiful glasses. We have companies in the system integrator and camera manufacturer like Yavil Optics. All of us ready to do business. And this is not our first time. This is not our first rodeo. We've been doing this already for about, when did we start, Francesca? On the 1st of July we started. We started on the 1st of July with a fantastic meeting on femtosecond lasers, and since then we've been back to back all the way to today, 22nd of June. This is our 31st, and we're going all the way to 15th of July. We have a fantastic meeting on ADAS plus autonomous driving, covering every single topic on photonics and optics. And it's been such an amazing adventure. Francesca and me, we've been working so hard with the rest of the EPIC team and getting so much support from the community. Actually, we are now 572 members of EPIC. We keep growing. I would like to welcome all these companies that are constantly sending us the forums and asking us to engage them with the rest of the participants of the EPIC community. It is such a dream to build the largest and definitely most active photonic association in the world. And as I said before, nobody can do anything alone. And at EPIC, we are not alone. We have the support of great team behind the scenes. Francesca and me, we've been working very hard in the last minutes. These people have been working back to back from Monday to Sunday, collecting all the interest from the companies, trying to find the end users, trying to send the invitations, informing people on the logistics. This is working thanks to this amazing team. I would like to actually thank all of them. You guys are fantastic. I'm so happy to be in this dream team. And as I said before, EPIC is now a very active association, not only organization of events, but also on the networking. So whenever you or members want to contact us to ask us for a potential supplier, partner, or customer, either the market segment or the name of the company, we have been working hard enough to actually know the who is who and make such introduction. Also on the investment side, also finding a job, and also even providing good market information. All of you know that we can provide up to 17,000 market data, reports, and view graphs that are active in the extranet for our members. And thanks to the great support that we get from you, we can do crazy things. So be careful, don't support us too much. We can do crazy things like this one. On Wednesday, I'm going to be chairing an event for 24 hours straight. I know that sounds totally crazy, and it totally is. My doctor doesn't like Carlos Lee, whose idea is this. And we're going to be 24 hours with 72 speakers from New Zealand all the way to California. We start at 3 a.m. We finish at 3 a.m. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's totally nuts. But I would like to thank all of you for sending me this beautiful mugs. It's so great to have the support of all of you thinking Jose needs to be caffeinated. Don't worry, it's mostly water. It's okay. Thank you very much for all those particular gadgets that you have given me. And today we are here to talk about UV LEDs. And first of all, I would like to thank the sponsors today. Three key companies in the sector. The first one, Laser Components. I think all of you know Laser Components. Whenever you are looking for either optics, micro optics, LED integration, in definitive, Laser Components, they are the ones who actually manufacture. 50% of the products are manufactured themselves. The other 50 is high value distribution. One of the key companies in the sector, Ocean Insights, spectrometer manufacturers, actually rebranding of Ocean Optics. They're actually very strong in the characterization of testing of UV all the way to mid-infrared, any kind of source, from pixels to LEDs. Whenever you need the equipment for the testing of these particular components, this is the place to go. And Morphotonics. Morphotonics made the reality of a dream. Roll-to-plate micro-optics manufacturing, they made the reality, and now they are serving different market segments, actually all the time packaging micro-optics on the top of displays, LEDs, anything that you need to package, they can do it in the roll-to-plate low-cost fashion. But today is also a very special day for us, very special day for EPIC. Today we are announcing our MOU with the IUVA. EPIC is the Association of Photonics, IUVA is the Association of UV, and this partnership is actually going to make us be stronger, both of us, connecting our technologies with different users in the field of agriculture, semiconductor, medical. We really want to make sure that together we can reach all these different markets. IUVA is the association that has every single UV LED manufacturer worldwide. We at EPIC, we have all the supply chain to make their devices, their light sources into systems, instruments that can serve the different end users. And with this, we want to make sure that today, on this fantastic day in which the two of us are for the first time working together, I would like to give the floor to Francesca Moglia, who is going to tell us what's going to happen in the next 2.5 hours. Francesca.
Thank you, Jose, for the microphone. So welcome also from my side. So here you see the agenda from today. So really a lot of speakers from different sectors from the whole value chain. But for those of you who are already expert in EPIC online technology meetings, we don't like to this kind of lists. We like more the next slide, exactly. So we want to show who is sitting here in this room, in the Zoom right now, and also sometimes possibly also on YouTube. All the people who would like to join this meeting. So if your logo is missing, it's not because we forgot you, but just because these are the people who sign up today. And actually, I really like usually to start from the topic. So we want to talk today about LED-based technologies and their applications. So what should I start with? Of course, with the system integration and this application. So today we have here 5 different sectors where we can actually integrate UV LEDs. So I start from the first, so GEW and Excelitas that are actually committed to UV curing systems, so welcome. Then Huawei is for consumer products, also there we have UV LEDs. Then the bad topic, that is also a good topic this year for the coronavirus, we heard already in the video of Jose, disinfection systems, so UV Fab is also here for this, and hopefully we will have good discussion about this topic as well. Then horticulture, kind of a modern topic, so I'm really excited to have here also Sunlight, thank you for joining us. And then water quality monitoring, this is a very large market, so thank you Oliver for being here for AquiSense Technologies, so we will hear also about this application. And then of course, how do we integrate this? So we need someone is actually prototyping the instruments and also is preparing us for new products to volume production. And that's why I'm really happy to welcome JBL Optics, that is not only an EPIC member, but is also a partner with us in the European funded pilot line MedFab that is actually exactly helping in this volume production for medical devices based on photonics. So it's really happy to have you here as well. Then, as we said, of course, we don't integrate anything if we don't have the manufacturers of UV LEDs. So I'm really happy that many of you in the room is actually belonging to this sector, so vendor and manufacturers, and you really like the idea of this meeting and you were happy to join. So thanks a lot to Bolb. Excelitas is again here also as manufacturing vendor, Boston Electronics, Solvisius, Luminous, Crystal IS, Laser Components, UV Photonics, Nichia, and Applied Materials. So many of you are speakers, many are not, so some of you not, but don't worry, even if you're not speakers, we really like to involve you in discussions and talk about your technology and what is the challenges that we have at the moment. And so then, of course, UV LEDs come also, new technology comes from the wafers and crystal growers. So we are really happy to have here CrayoNano also from 3-5 materials, but also IQE that are more expertise graphene and nanowires. So thank you for being here. Then we want not only to talk about the UV LEDs of today, but also those of tomorrow. So that's why I'm really happy to have so much participation from the R&D side of this of the manufacturing. So thank you for being here to Fraunhofer IOSB, to CPI, to a few universities, so from University College of Cork, but also from University of Madrid and Aveiro, Aaron University as well, NTNU, Sealeti, but also the Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore, so with also some application in hospitals. Then, of course, we want to make a device with UV LEDs, we said, so we need definitely also optical components. So strong topic for EPIC. So UV optical components are, of course, a special sector. So thanks again to Exelitas and to 6 ELISA components. Again, Morphotonics, we heard. Thank you also for the sponsoring. VLAN to PMT. And then also more concentrating on micro-optics. So we have Zeus micro-optics, so thank you. And also we mentioned here Fabulous, our pilot line devoted to the development of new and to let's say push the volume production of micro lenses and also freeform micro lenses. So definitely very important for micro applications in also for UV LEDs. Then we want, of course, to package all the things together. So it's really nice that we have here 4 representatives from this sector packaged in assembly. So PLX, Alter Technology, and Size Group, and Lithoglas. So thanks for joining us. And then, of course, we need to have adhesive materials. So also for this kind of optical applications. So thank you to Delo and to Dow. And of course, there is no planning and building a prototype without optical design. So thanks a lot for the service and software, for Joya team and Lumerical. Thank you for joining us. And then there are some devices, of course, needed for characterization and testing. And we are here 3 major representatives for this kind of wavelength range. So Ocean Insight, thank you, NKT Photonics, and MKS Ophir. So welcome also to you. And then, of course, the distribution is also important. So AM's technology and HTDS are here today. So I guess they know that this topic is really hot. And that's why also we have 3 representatives for market intelligence, consulting, and investment today. So I guess they know what's going on. Elucidaire, Equity and Sense Transfer, and Wild Technology. Thanks a lot to you as well. And then, as we mentioned, last but not least, associations are important. It's really now a commitment to work together on this kind of, on the topic of ULEDs. So thanks a lot to RadTech, to CFBI, and of course, last but not least, to IUVA. So it's really a pleasure to announce this MOU signed with you today. And now, I guess I didn't forget anybody. I hope.
Grazie mille, Francesca. Always fantastic with so much energy. She can compile so much information. She spoke about 50 companies in about 2 minutes. Incredible, Francesca. Last, I would like to remind all of you that this meeting is live streamed in YouTube. So hello, YouTubers all over the world interested in UV LEDs. If you want to get in touch with any of the participants, as much as the companies mentioned by Francesca right now, all you have to do is send me an email, jose.pozo@epic-asoc.com. The same goes for the people in the Zoom channel, as well as the YouTubers. All you have to do to connect with anyone in the meeting today is to send an email to jose.pozo@epic-asoc.com. We love making these introductions. Please do not use them for sale purposes. We are trying to make a collaboration network. We are trying to make sure that we understand, all of us, that the best way to work together is to have the right partners, suppliers, and customers. And as Francesca said before, it is indeed a very, very special day. Today we have with us the President and CEO of AquiSense Technologies, who also used to be the chairman of the IUVA Association. Thank you very much for this amazing collaboration between EPIC and the IUVA. It is such an honor to be part of this. The floor and the attention of everyone goes to you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. What a great introduction. It's a little bit early in the US, so it's good to be woken up by such enthusiasm. Thank you. So IUVA, it's been around since 1999. I've been very honored to be a member since the beginning, so a little bit more than 20 years. really has every part of the supply chain. So from end users, utilities, regulators, started more in the US on municipal and water, but now really is truly global, many countries around the world. IUVA has a mission, very clear, wants to preach ultraviolet technology. Of course, it becomes a little bit famous in the last half a year, but in IUVA, we've been very passionate about this, like I say, for more than 20 years. Really important technology. I think it covers everything, of course, air, surface, water, and really more application. I've been in the UV for 25 years, and it's surprising to me. Some people at parties, they come up and say, oh, I have this great idea. We can use UV in blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sorry, we already did that. I mean, it really is everywhere, way more than you think. Most big cities around the world, whether it's drinking water, wastewater, will have had UV for many years, but really odd applications. And I love my job because I get to see all sorts of really interesting applications. Very quickly, we don't have time to go into this in detail, but if you want to look at this later, I think UVC LEDs, I see 5 big drivers: increased efficiency, lower price, better engineered systems, regulatory drivers, and industry drivers. These are all going to mean there's going to be more and more. There's no question in my mind that a semiconductor technology that can disinfect without chemicals is what the world needs. It won't solve every problem, but it will solve a lot of problems. Okay, I'm going to take my IUVA hat off, and I'm going to put my AquiSense hat on. So I founded this company 5 years ago. I was a little bit bullish on UV LEDs, maybe 5 years too early. I was president of one of the big UV companies doing traditional technology, and I really felt that I needed a new vehicle just to focus on LEDs. And now I think we're in a good position, really. AquiSense, we really try to focus on solutions. So we're an industry leader. I think we buy more LEDs than anyone else, probably. Some people on this call we buy from, but supplying to all markets globally. We're fully integrated, so we have manufacturing in Kentucky. We are expanding that. We've got some semi-automation. We need help with circuit board assembly, for sure. We always need help with LEDs. We really buy from multiple manufacturers, and it's important to us to have that understanding across all types of LEDs for all different applications. And really we're on our 4th generation water treatment product now. We were introduced as water quality monitoring, and we do some of that, but primarily disinfection is our heart and our core. So we have a range of product platforms from on the bottom there, special projects where we do a lot of stuff for NASA, European Space Agency, Japan Space Agency. We have a full range of research products. This is really important, that people need to understand how to use LEDs. Fundamentally, a photon hitting a pathogen works the same way, but there are some nuances. There are some different design techniques, and having those research projects is really important. We have a lot of high volume products that we make, and they look like golf balls or baseballs, and lots of different, these are all assembled here in Kentucky. We have a new line we just opened with more than 10,000 a month of this type of product. So we really move into not just bespoke, let's say, manufacturing, but really semi-automated, high volume churning products out. COVID has accelerated our business both in water treatment areas. A lot of companies, big companies, are saying, hey, we want to accelerate our platforms, but also surface treatment modules. So this is an example of a module where LEDs come out this side, the heat comes out this side. And then we have some standalone products, but primarily we like to think of ourselves as an OEM supply, tier 1, tier 2 company. And of course, everyone sees a product and they say, oh, okay, the concept is easy. I get an LED, I shine it on something, the bugs die. Yeah, sure. But there's a lot of aspects to that. So the microbiological performance is a function. Whoa, my screen died and I have a cool motorcycle. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, it's really cool one, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that yours? I'm gonna go to Kentucky
Yes,
just so you can show it to me.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It was in Fast and Furious 8, this bike, actually. I'm a little bit of a collector of Ducati. So anyway.
Oh, wow. Back to you.
That's my second passion. The point here is there's a lot of aspects, and we think that you have to really understand every aspect of this, the dye, the substrate, the wafer, how it's packaged and encapsulated, the thermals, the controls, the sensing, the fluid dynamics, the optical distribution, which leads into the path length. And then there's the whole product side of things. So what features are needed, the compliance, reliability, manufacturing. These, if you're bad at one or two of these things or don't think about them enough, the solution won't be there. And so I was so happy to see the introduction by Francesca of all the members, because, you know, we need help with optical modeling. We need help with high volume assembly. We need help with all aspects of here. We need really strong dye. We need really the best package encapsulation. And so I'm really happy that we can be part of this and join the discussion. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to end a little bit early and leave a little bit of time for everyone else, if that's okay. I think that's, but thank you very much. I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much. And please never, ever apologize for finishing on time. Never, never, because we always want to finish at the right time. It is your first ever epic meeting, but the first of many, promise me that. And I would like to ask you what we call the epic question, and we are sort of famous for that. We have in front of you the whole supply chain from companies who actually do fantastic coating polymer on the top of LEDs like size getters, all the way to companies who can test your devices like Ocean or Insight. Tell me, what kind of partnerships, what kind of challenges, what kind of bottlenecks would you share with these people? I would like to ask you for two. Give me two challenges that these people can help you with.
Well, we're using a lot of people already, and we're really happy for this. Volume and speed is really important. We're seeing a really high interest, and we're moving very fast. I think sometimes some of our vendors need to speed up a little bit. We need fast solutions. That's really important. So speed, agility. I think UVC has some challenges that are a little bit different than UVA, and UVA in curing I think has been a little bit ahead, and we're now lagging. So UVC definitely has some materials characteristics that are more difficult to deal with. You know, fiber optic coupling, yeah, okay, but in UVC it's a little bit different. So think UVC, it's a little bit more difficult, and think fast.
When you say it is a bit more difficult and you're talking about the fiber coupling, is there a demand to have fiber coupled UVC LEDs?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I use that as one example. I think there's many examples, but yeah, there for sure. That's a problem that's not solved. There is probably 4 or 5 key problems not solved. I think that's one of them. For sure.
I do have the feeling that it's something that we can help with, but I had the hand of laser components being up. Thank you very much for joining us today. What is your question?
Oliver, my question is, do you see any limitation in the technology of UVC LEDs? Or
yes.
black efficiency or something like this?
I mean, no question. The slide I shared earlier said that if we get increased deployment, there's 5 things that we need. We need more efficient devices. We need lower cost devices. We need better system engineering, regulatory drivers, and industry drivers. For sure, we need all 5. But do I think the market's ready now? Yeah, we're proving it. I have a factory here with, we're shipping thousands of units per day. So it's real. Don't think that, I think a lot of people think, oh, UVC, it's still embryonic, it's still coming. No, it's real. The question is for me, how do I shift from 20,000 pieces a month to 500,000 pieces a month? That's my mind. So yeah, there's limitations now. If I get, you know, more devices, if I get them cheaper, more power, I can make more units. But for sure, there's already a big market.
We have a question from Javil Optics, a potential partner for you. Simon.
Yeah, I saw the question. So requirements for optical modeling, EMS. Yeah, we do optical ray tracing, particle tracing, fluid dynamics. In fact, I love this on the back here. We really have three things. We need, this is my pictures. We need devices, we need microbiology, and we need fluid dynamics and ray tracing. I got to model all these things. So it's simply put, all these areas have to be modeled. So yeah, please talk to us. Contact.
It would be great to connect afterwards, since Jables is your partner for scaling up in high volumes.
Perfect, thank you.
It is great to have Javil Optics in the room. Are there more questions and more potential room for collaboration? I think we have a question from CEA Leti. Hani, what's your question? I think I have you muted. So
information efficacy on UVC. Is that the question? How does it work? Look, there should be no question it works. Go outside on a sunny day for 2 hours. That sunburn is UV, okay? So don't let anybody tell you, oh, it's fake. UV works. The question is, so the concept is very simple. The question is, how do you make it work efficiently, reliably? How do you characterize it? It's so ubiquitous, and using it with an LED versus with a mercury lamp. A photon is a photon, but it's all about the system engineering. It's all about how do we characterize it and make it reliable and predictable.
Hani, do you want to add something to that? We have you muted. You need to unmute yourself. Yes.
Now
yes.
You hear me? So thank you for your presentation. It's a very interesting topics, and actually UVC is one of the actual and future major application, I think, for water sterilization, especially that water source over this planet are most of them contaminated with different type of problems. So virus or chemical contamination, etc. So one of the major issues that we are facing with UVC LED now, it's weak efficiency. When I'm not talking about how many electrical watt you inject inside your LED device and how many optical watt you are taking out. I know it's working. We can find on the market a lot of UVC, but in terms of energy consumption, there's still a lot of, let's say, building blocks or stacking issues to resolve. One of them we are working internally, and Leti, it's P-doping in order to reduce the electrical trade-off and increase a little bit the efficiency. But I noticed from the commercial product, the efficiency, it's very, very low compared to a blue LED. I know it's incomparable, but if you compare even UVC to UVA, the efficacy or the efficiency, it's still an order of magnitude. Do you have some comment about that?
Yeah. Look, very simply put, a mercury vapor lamp, the most efficient UV lamp possible is about 35%. So 65% heat, 35% light. A UV LED, less than 5%, so 95% heat. How do we make more than 10,000 a month of this if the efficiency is so low? Many people for years have said, oh, Oliver, it's not possible. You have to have LEDs that are 30% efficient. Yeah, I would love 30% efficient LEDs, but I can still sell 10,000 of these a month. Why? Because the customer is not buying an LED efficiency. What the customer is buying is water in, water out, right? He wants to know, can I kill bugs here? He says, I got bugs here and I want no bugs here. So the system efficiency is really important. I'm using an LED in here. I'm using an LED like this in here. Okay, the LED is not very efficient, but my reactor is very efficient. My manufacturing here is very low cost, way, way lower cost than the mercury system. The mercury system is a stainless steel tube. It has a ballast and da-da-da-da-da. So you have to think about the total solution. So using really advanced optical modeling, using high volume automated manufacturing processes. This is the, now, can I make bigger systems, more efficient LEDs? Yes, please. Please bring them. We will take them.
Fantastic. And now we're going to allow us to switch your hat and go to the IUVA hat. My friend Annabelle from Ocean Insight has a really good question. Annabelle, what's in your mind?
Hi there. I was just wondering, in terms of regulations, as far as I'm aware, the water disinfection industry has got some regulations in place. But obviously, as we see the other industries increase, do you anticipate that regs might change for those as well?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my 5 drivers. I said, you know, these 5 drivers, industry regulations, for sure, there are some that apply, you know, the Minamata Convention. The question is, will states enforce that? We have to be part of that, pushing them. But yeah, it's already coming. So NSF already now added UV LEDs to their regulatory standard for 55. But IUVA, please join. We have a whole group looking at this. So essentially non-water regulatory, one based around LEDs and one based around hospital-acquired infections. It is like the Wild West. You're completely right. Water is probably 20 years in, firm regulations, very clear. Outside of water, it needs help, and we all can help with that.
And we all will. And thank you so much for being one of the pushers of having EPIC and IUVA working together. I'm eternally thankful, Oliver. Your job is not finished today. We're going to have a lot of discussion after the next presentations. But I'm going to introduce you now to one of your potential partners. I think you're going to love what these guys can do. When it comes to packaging and adding materials, we go to MSG Lithoglas. We go to France and we go to Ulli Hansen, the CEO MSG Lithoglas, who's going to tell us how you're going to help all these UV LED manufacturers in the volume production of the packaging of their future instruments. The floor and the attention of everyone goes to you, Ulli.
Great, thanks a lot, Jose, for introducing us. And thanks for the opportunity talking about our solutions. Let me share my screen. So what we are doing is basically, we are working on packaging solutions, reflector cavity packaging for UV LEDs, the target to making the whole device more efficient. And well, shortly on Lithoglas. We're founded in 2006. We're Germany based, actually. And we have 2 sites here in Germany. Headquarters and production is in Dresden, and we have a R&D corporation in Berlin. Both sides are ISO 9001 certified. Our target and purpose is to develop and commercialize innovative wafer-level packaging technologies, for instance, to enable miniaturized SMD or COB type of packages. And our focus is mainly optoelectronics, but also partly MEMS. So in optoelectronics, we consider ourselves a specialist in advanced optoelectronic packaging. We enable miniaturized packages, hermetic packages if needed. Target is always to enhance optical performance. And we use semiconductor or MEMS processing techniques to make our packages. Therefore, we have very good precision in our devices or in our materials. And we have very good scalability of our products. And we focus on emitters and sensors, so like UV LEDs, which we talk about today, but also for laser diodes, laser diode packages, optosensor packaging, or image sensor packaging. First, here a slide with the typical packages around. Of course, a lot is still TO packaging. It's hermetic. It's a classical package basically, but it's also large and cumbersome in mounting. But it's good to integrate lenses normally suitable for lower volumes. And on the other hand, ceramic packages, which are small, can be soldered. Typically a 3D structured ceramic with through contacts, and then hermetic or non-hermetic, depending on how a quartz lid is attached to the top of this package. Compared to that, what we can offer is on the one hand, or here on the very left, compatible to the known packages. We make a few silica lids with AR coatings, with metallization for soldering. But more sophisticated, we can make silica windows with a 3D structured lid. So which allows you to use a flat submount. It's easier for the assembly of the LED. And basically, we have a broader emission pattern as the dam is made of fused silica and therefore transparent for the UV light. Also here we can integrate RIR coatings or metallizations for soldering. And the most sophisticated package here is then again using a flat submount, but integrating mirrors into the package. So actually the sidewalls of these 3D structured windows is made as mirrors. So you can have a very, very small, efficient package. So why is it a good idea to have the mirrors inside? It's basically for the deep UV LEDs, UVC. The LEDs do emit a lot of light, significant amount of light towards the side, which is in the classical package just lost in the sidewall. And you can also see in the normal emission patterns that you're missing the part down here. And if you use a reflector, of course, you can reuse this light. The light is turned towards the top, and it gives you a higher output power because you don't lose this light that's generated by your LED. We've done comparison measurements, so to a bare LED die on a submount without any lid on top, compared to a reflector cap on top of it. And we see that we can basically get about 97% of the emitted light with this solution. And looking at this, of course, you also have a better thermal performance because the light that's lost in the sidewall is, of course, turned into heat. And also with this package, you don't have so much light reflected back onto the LED. So we generate less heat, and this would allow you to drive a higher current into your LED to increase your light output even more. Next to just recovering light, the reflector can also be designed to actually shape the light. So these are simulations. On the left side, you see a bare die emission pattern, very circular, hemispherical shaped. But already adding a reflector of only 0.5 millimeter height, you see that in the center of the emission pattern, the peak rises. And if you make this higher, the reflector, it rises even more. And if we go even further, and these are so far simulations for the very part we still have to prove it, but you can mimic the emission pattern of a lens, maintaining a flat surface on your package with a very rightly designed reflector. On top of doing this on single packages, with our fabrication technology, it's quite easy to make array packages as well. So basically, we make a lot of reflectors next to each other. Target is that each LED can have its individual reflector. Then the LEDs are optically insulated from each other. And the optical performance is again improved, of course, and as well as the thermal performance. And yeah, with our technology, it's also quite easy to customize these parts. So summarizing, basically, see conventional package, lithoglass package. With an integrated reflector, we target to have a higher light output, better thermal performance. We can offer hermeticity if needed, because all of the materials we need are inorganic, we use are inorganic. And we can make custom packages, arrays, or we also do standard packages like 35 outline. That's my timer. Thanks a lot. I'm finished with my slides. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Ulli, for your contribution on time as well. We are thrilled. Thanks a lot. So, as you know, maybe better than Oliver, the epic questions is, so you clearly say what you can do for them, so packaging. So why are you here today? What is the aim of collaborating with people sitting here today? So what do you need from them?
Well, one aim is, of course, we want to make better known what we can do, but also for us, it is always good to learn what is actually needed. As said in the slides, we can customize our solutions, and for us, it's always important to learn what are actually the problems of the current packages in the market. How can we tailor our solutions to benefit to the community?
Very good, yeah. And I see we didn't talk yet with the manufacturers, but you're also devoted to increase the efficiency of the LEDs that are there. So it's already your commitment. Maybe Oliver, do you want to comment on this? You were talking about the needs of packaging. So we have Ulli here. Do you have some shopping list to give him?
Yeah, it was really interesting to hear this. I think some of this we had been working on and thinking about already. I definitely want to connect with you after this call. But yeah, I completely agree. This is the type of innovation that's critical. So of course we need better devices, look, but we can take a lot of things into our own hands now. We can do it now, even with the devices we have. And I love the way Ulli showed that. So thank you, Ulli.
Great, thanks a lot.
Very good. We are here for this, for hearing you saying, let's connect later. So great. Then I see we have also a question from Michael from CrayoNano. If you want to ask the question yourself, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering what the maximum wafer size is you can process with your wafer level packaging solution.
Currently, we are limited to 8-inch, 200 millimeter wafers. And basically, if we do a full wafer level package or a die level or array level package, it always depends on the application, of course.
Mm. Thank you.
For CrayoNano, Michael, what is the UV LED wafer size that you are normally working with?
Yeah, I mean, that is very particular with our approach. We develop the chip technology so that we can go up in the scaling of the wafer size. We have proven in-house 8-inch wafers already. So that would be nicely matching. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Are there other questions that I didn't see so far? Because if it's not the case, we are now slowly approaching more the manufacturing side. So maybe we can go on with our agenda and have the floor ready for Nichia. So for Giovanni Vecchio, we are really, really happy that you're here and that you want to share with us. Yeah, hello. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Let's start with Nichia. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nichia presentation. Some words to my person. So my name is Giovanni Vecchio. I am the head of sales and marketing for the Nichia General Lighting Department, covering mainly the DACH area, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. I'm located in Germany in the city of Kronberg, close to Frankfurt. And I joined Nichia almost 9 years ago. I'm glad to be here with you today, and I hope that you all are doing fine through these difficult times. So now let's get started. So I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about Nichia, who is Nichia, and what makes this company so special. Furthermore, a diversity of products Nichia has to offer, including the UV LED. Hoppala. So, Nichia Corporation founded 64 years ago, so in 1956 in Tokushima, Japan. It is a privately run, family-owned company in third generation. Nichia started as a producer of specialty chemical compounds and is the innovator of the first bright blue and white LED. Today, Nichia focuses on optical semiconductor products such as LED, laser diode, steel chemicals, phosphors, and lithium-ion battery materials. Especially noteworthy is that Nichia has over 50 years expertise in phosphors. And as most of you know, phosphors are the one of the most important keys, elements for white LED. Nichia is not only the largest LED manufacturer, but has also impressed during the years with many innovative LED products in all areas of applications. So,
the space bar normally works.
So, yeah, thank you. Speaking of applications, here we see the optical business segments where Nichia's is in, or covers. So within the optical business segments, there are LCD backlighting, which is for sure one of the largest part for devices like mobile phones, PCs, TVs, etc., etc. followed by the general illumination, so the general lighting, and automotive. Video display, offering a wide range of RGB LEDs, for instance. And laser diodes. So laser diodes, where Nichia is leading the market for laser projectors, for example. And yeah, indeed, UV is growing. So we see more and more demand, more and more customers requesting for UV, especially deep UV. And Nichia has more than 20 years of experience in this field. So Nichia UV LEDs has been chosen by demanding customers that requires rigorous quality, such as high precision curing, ink curing for printing, field checking, and so on. So with that said, and among the reasons and facts mentioned, so Nichia remains the only stable LED manufacturer out there with the balance and diversity across all markets. This is something we can say for sure also during the this COVID-19 time we are facing now. So UV highlights. Now let's have a look at the UV highlights Nichia has to offer. Guys, my 3 screens. Excuse me.
3 screens.
Yeah, 3 screens, like in a call center. Okay, let's move ahead with this table showing the variety of UV LED Nichia has to offer. So from the right side, you see it starts at 4 or 5 nanometers to 395, 385. So it's a rich variety of UV LEDs subdivided in 10 nanometer steps until 365. So this range is mostly used for application like ink curing, resin curing, adhesive, and lithography. Even non-destructive testing is also a market for UV. For this kind of wavelengths UV. So on the left side, we see the 290 nanometer. The current version as a discrete single LED is the NCSU334A. So it offers 10 to 100 milliwatts radiant flux, which is important for disinfection and sterilization, for example, of water, air, surfaces. It is basically the range that is absorbed by the NDA or RNA. Now with UV LED and others said it already, the market is open for portable devices, hand-rail disinfection, water purification in bottles, and so on. So, and depending on the power required, as you can see on this table, there is basically, our customers can choose between different packages from single discrete LED to COB, and powering these devices up to 200,000 milliwatts radiant flux. So that's basically I come to the end here. Let's conclude the presentation, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. But that was perfect. You told us what Nichia can do, and what Nichia can do is really a lot. Myself, I'm a huge fan of Nakamura, so when Nichia accepted to be here, my heart actually started bouncing. Thank you very much for being with us. You're gonna get, of course, the epic question. What can you do for them? What can they do for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's still quite new, the deep UV discussion. So we're still looking for partners that would conduct various field testing, for example, disinfection studies, publications, because the LED, not only in UV, but also in the general lighting, is moving from standard lumen per watt to much more. Now we're talking about live, biological impacts, and so on. And we are, as a semiconductor company, we know our tasks, but yeah, we need much more cooperation, publications, educations to expand this market.
The first question for you comes from Jabil Optics, and I think I call it the question because you see what he's asking. Simon, what's in your head?
Yes, just one question. First of all, thanks for the nice talk and introduction. Do you as a company put more effort on having more efficient UVA LEDs, or do you intend to increase more to the UVB and UVC range? Where is your focus?
The focus is over the whole range. 4, 5, 3, 85, of course, it represents the majority of the business. Therefore, we will keep the focus in that field. But we will also have a look on the deep UV, which is a really hot topic nowadays. And with that said, as you can see you can see my presentation, right now?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Oh, excuse me. May I show briefly one page? Okay.
It's one of the first Nichia's presentations at these meetings. I'm so happy to have you here, Giovanni.
So as you can see here from the, you're welcome. Thank you. As you can see here from the current deep UV LED, the 280 nanometer, it has already the industry most efficient efficacy or LED with 3%. And it has an hermetic package. And the good thing is, and the promising thing is that we are going to release an update of these LED by the end of the year, which gives or which offers 20% more performance and 10% more efficacy. So we see a similar trend as at the beginning of general lighting. So I'm quite happy, and I'm looking forward for further development in UV and especially deep UV.
Thank you.
You're gonna really like, well, I'm not sure you're gonna like, but you're gonna be entertained with the next question coming from Ophir NKS Simon. Thank you very much for joining us. What's in your head?
Hi, Giovanni. In my head, the question of the price-wise, the UVC LED chips are still multiple ranges higher than like UVA chips. Do you think, or do you expect this is going to change in shortly?
Good question. In shortly, it depends how the market will develop. You know, prices goes almost hand in hand with the volume. So if there is a consistent and growing volume, which I really expect, then we do see a better price in the future, in the near future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question comes from one of the design service companies I'm very happy to have in the team. Thank you, Asaf, for being with us. What's in your mind?
Hi, well, I already got answers for the questions on the last for the last questions I asked, but I just want to say that we are currently have an idea of designing a UV sanitizer for consumer applications. And regarding the price issue is a very important issue for us. And even for very large quantities, like let's say millions units, the price are still too far from what is expected. So this is a very important question for us, and I'll be happy to get information about this during this conference.
Thank you, Asaf. We go back to laser components. Olga.
I have the question to the last guy. So what is your expectation on price for sanitizing for consumers?
You're not referring to me, right?
Yes, she is.
Okay. I mean, at the end now, because at the end, the price is defined by the whole product. It's not just the LED. Of course, LED has a big contribution, but it is not the product. It does not consist of just the LED. So, but of course, we see, we understand our role to work on the pricing as well, not just the performance. For now, it's the performance. We invest a lot in R&D in order to reach this plus 20% more performance and efficacy. So with that, we already offer a higher value to the market, yeah, by keeping the price, yeah.
I think that you really touch a nerve there. I think I want to go back to AquiSense. From your point of view, Oliver, what is the cost that we can actually reduce by having cheaper UVC LEDs?
I can share a graphic with you.
I give you 35 seconds.
Yes, very quickly. So we've been tracking UVC LED Heitz's law, right? Coming down. It's really following Heitz's law. We believe that the system engineering can drop this price at a faster rate. We think we've dropped it at a faster rate in the last decade. Probably will shift a little bit in the next couple of years, but the system engineering is really key, and in my opinion, totally not understood in enough detail.
Indeed, I do believe, and later on we're going to have different application fields being treated, like the semiconductor, consumer, horticulture. I want to get also an understanding for this, but Oliver, great again, and thank you. Piacere, Giovanni, grazie mille for being here. And we go to Korea. We go to Seoul Viosys, and with not a very Korean name and surname, Marko Hofmann is here to tell us what this community can do to help Seoul Viosys. The floor and the attention of everyone goes to you.
Hello, thank you very much for the introduction. It's actually not Korea, it's based out of Germany, just responsible for Seoul Viosys in Europe. Let me see if I can move this. Perfect. So first of all, I would like to introduce briefly Seoul Viosys as a company. We are a global company, there we go, with 4 production sites globally in Korea, in Vietnam, China, and also in the US. 6 R&D labs, more than 3,000 employees, and a production capacity of over 3 billion LEDs a month. Unfortunately, not all UV LEDs yet. There's still a share in, let's say, the older LED part for general lighting, for backlight units, for automotive. We also have a division called New Businesses, where we work on micro LEDs, infrared VCSELs, and sensors. But the big topic today is actually a subsidiary taking care of UV topics. It's Seoul Viosys, and with a large variety of products. On the next slide, you see a brief overview. So we basically cover everything from 270 to 420, 430 nanometers with different performance levels from the milliwatt to the watt range in the UVA, as this is a historical UV market for curing counterfeit applications. We have various products in the UVB range, which is mainly used for medical applications, psoriasis treatment, and of course also in the UVC range, from low power packages to higher power packages. What we also do is we focus on a large variety, so basically coming from small packages, 1.62 milliwatts, which are enough for small area applications, disinfection, then going up to 3 milliwatts, 22 milliwatts, 60 milliwatts. We have the capability, and that's also maybe already an answer to the EPIC question on how to support and how to help. We have the capabilities to do in-house testing. We have biologists employed that can do microbiological testing. So some test results here on disinfection of E. coli to a log-free reduction, so 99.9% removal at 2 different distances, and how long it took with the individual package to do the disinfection here, so that we can help customers to define the amount of LEDs and the amount of UV photons they actually need for their specific application. If the 60 milliwatt package is not enough, then we can also offer customized solutions, or we have standard products and customized called YCOP on board. So this is our YCOP chip. It's a flip chip design. And here you see a PCB with 100 chips on that, so reaching up to 2,000 milliwatts. We have 3x3 arrays, well over 100 milliwatts, 16 chip designs with about 300 milliwatts, and we can do customized designs, as you can see here, for example, for a water reactor. The big benefit here is not working with a single package. You don't have to worry about homogenization. You can just, split out and homogenize the illumination by separating the individual chips. And we have standard boards with a 280 millimeter length in different packaging densities, 12 chips, 24 chips, 48 chips, which are already equipped with connectors and everything, and can easily be used for more or less plug and play solutions. We have various partners all over the world, and of course also in Europe, that can support you with a system design, with electronics, some of our distributors. And that's our main point, not just to provide the chip and as a as a catalog seller, we really want to, understand what the customer is trying to do, what the customer is trying to accomplish, and can support with, assistance and guidance in also system design and which LEDs to use. One topic that was already mentioned was price, and price compared to UVA. I think that's very difficult to say, to compare. That's for me like really apples and pears, since you cannot do with a UVA LED what you do with a UVC LED and vice versa. So when we talk about price, we should rather compare it to a mercury lamp, and there it's absolutely right. We are still 1 or 2 orders of magnitude off. But I have to admit that the applications we address today, like 98% of those, would not be addressable with mercury lamps. So UVC LEDs really enable applications, technologies that were not possible or are not possible with standard mercury lamps. So it's really difficult then to compare the pricing. What a bigger issue was in the past was actually the lifetime of those UVC LEDs. I remember first time I came across UVC LEDs some 10 years ago. A few hundred hours. Yeah, I just talked to a customer today, and he said, after the 3rd time he turned it on, it died already. I think we've come a very long way there. We've done intensive testing with our UVC LEDs and can show that, at moderate temperatures, you can achieve lifetimes L70 values more than 20,000 hours. And even under harsh environment, it's still in the 10,000 hour range. And here we mentioned the TS, the solder point temperature, which is measured basically right next to the chip, because often with values like junction temperature or bore temperature, it's really difficult to measure and obtain those for customer and to make sure they are in line, since most of those are more like theoretical models to get those. Yeah, and what we do, we basically measure at various environments, various temperatures, individual measurements here. In this case, it was 6,000, 7,000 hours, and then you can do the extrapolation to come to this graph here. And on the last slide, I would like to share, some kind of test data experiment, what we did. In this case, we used our 275 nanometer UVC LEDs with a total of 36 milliwatts. We placed a Petri dish at 5 centimeter distance where we put Aspergillus flavus and made kind of some tests, 10 days, once where we illuminated this dish every day and checked how it grows, once where we illuminated only the first 2 days and then only 1 day. And you could see that if you just illuminate it for 2 days, you avoid any growth. And of course, control group, already from the first day, you see bacteria, mold, the mold growing. And this is just one example. We commonly use E. coli for testing. We use Staphylococcus, but also various others, organisms. And I think that's really important to understand, and how different LEDs, how different intensities behave. I think that's all I have for now, and I would be open for questions.
Thank you very much, Marko, for your talk. So it's really nice to have also practical example. So it's really nice that you put also some direct really tests that you were doing. And also, I see you already answered also to collaboration from a speaker. So maybe Giovanni knows now who to ask for, for some testing, for example. So now just a brief question for you. So you join also here, you're kind of new for EPIC. What is your expectation for this meeting? So with whom you would like to solve your problems?
Well, actually, it's for me, it's very important to understand what are the problems from the market. What are the where's the tripping stone? How can we so Viosys help and support to bring this industry or this technology more into the industry? Yeah, we can have the best product, we can have the highest efficiency. In the end, if it's not hitting the right market and target group, or actually if it's not solving the right problem, then it's useless.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
what we would like to learn is what's the problem.
Exactly. Now, also, I would say, let's stay not connected, still connected to your example. So you were showing clearly time exposure, distances, and the wavelength you use, for example, for this E. coli example.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we want to ask some users and someone in the room that would like to comment on this, if this is really the tool that we need. So, for example, we have Daniele and Rachele here in the room that maybe would like to comment on what is needed in hospitals and what actually are the usability of LEDs now.
Yes, here we are. What we need a system that could be able to reduce the count of bacteria, also viruses, but we have the problem of bacteria. These bugs, multi-resistant, usually in the wards. You can see an operatory room during the activity, and at the end of the operation, we have to disinfect this area. But I'm not sure that UV can solve the problem, because they cannot arrive everywhere. And if you have the blood like here, if you have blood on the floor, you have to remove the blood before using UV. And if you remove the blood, you disinfect the floor, because you have to use a wet system. So
yeah, I completely understand, and what I like to point out every time when somebody asks me a similar question, UV light is an awesome tool, but it's not the magic weapon for everything. Yeah, the problem is that light photons are relatively stupid. They more or less just fly straight, so they cannot reach. And where's light, there's also shadow. So it always can contribute to an additional, let's say, disinfection, sterilization, but it for sure will not be possible that you put the room full of UVC LEDs or UVC lamps, just turn it on and everything is 100% sterile. You still need, to some degree, some manual cleaning.
And if you look at this ward room, you see the patient, you see how many things are on the table, and I imagine that UV can't arrive after the bottle of water. So,
the point is what you should focus at the moment, or at first, are so-called high-touch areas where people put their hands, let's say the doorknobs, I don't know, the elevator, or where you dial the lift, or the floor you want to enter. Often you see promotion for cleaning the floor. Yeah? I mean, if I walk with shoes on the floor and there are some pathogens, the risk that I really touch the floor and bring it to my mouth and get sick is relatively limited. Yeah, but the risk that I touch a doorknob and bring it to my face and get sick is much, much higher.
Look at this picture in the operating theater. You can see blood flowing on the floor. Here is necessary to clean with strong muscles, force.
Of course. If there's a blood drop, you cannot disinfect underneath the blood drop because it's not transparent for UV light anyways. So you have to clean it manually.
I think maybe the UV could be useful if you have a small object. You can clean a clean object, a scissors. You can put it in a box, and probably the UV can sterilize or disinfect it. But
to some extent, as soon as, especially with scissors where they interact as a shadowed area, if you have some, bacteria, viruses, and that, you will not be able to reach it with UV light. Yeah, for this kind of disinfection, if it's a medical tools, I strongly recommend just heat it up as it's been done for 100 years already, and there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This is really precious information. And I see that Marko had the ball. So that's why also the others were writing in the chat some comments. So let's start with Sean, maybe, because this was related more to the topic. Can you, Sean, from UV Fab, make your comment that you wrote also in the, in the chat?
Yeah, I think UV should always be used as a final cleaning step. It's not, as Marko mentioned, it's not the single bullet that kills all pathogens. So it should be always combined, and always say it should be combined with air as well as surface treatment to have a total solution.
Okay, and also Oliver has a comment related, right? So of course, chemical is not magic either, but do you want to express your comment as well?
Well, I mean, we said you should always manually clean. Yeah, you can manually clean with an LED. You can, you know, to me, it's no different. I don't understand this argument. Yeah, chemicals can't magically go underneath an object, and nor can UV. You have to clean up for sure.
That's a good point. Then we have also a question from before, more to Marko. So we go back to the discussion that we had on the slides. So Alessio Corazza from SizeGetter said also a question in the chat. Would you like to say it yourself? Let's see if you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Thanks, Marko. Thanks for the presentation. I was very positively surprised about the lifetime curves you have shown us. Mm-hmm. And I have the question, for example, in the specification of your package chips, for example, for the 22 milliwatt or 16 milliwatt, which is the granted lifetime for these chips?
That's the one I showed. That's also, we use the same chip in our package. Of course, you know, the 4-chip package stress is a little higher on those chips, but in the end, it depends on the type of PCB, how well you solder it, what you know, how good is the cooling. But you can easily achieve more than 10,000 hours of lifetime with those packages as well.
Okay, thank you. Very, very interesting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Then, if I'm not wrong, also Simon from Jabil Optics has a question or comment.
Yes, it's a question. Thank you, Marko, for the overview. So we are mostly involved in very small or miniaturized systems. So my question is if you also offer bare dies instead of finally packaged chips.
For UVC LEDs, we do not offer bare dies, but we offer customized solutions. So if you tell us you need a chip on board, and we can discuss a design with you, and you can basically design your own product, and then we would supply the YCOP on board, as we call it, solution, readily tested, you know, with a pre-agreed specification in terms of output, power, voltages to you.
Okay, thanks.
Very good, very good. So if now I don't see anybody else who wants to comment, you are many, so please don't be shy. And also, if I don't see you, too bad for me, but we will catch up later. If it's not the case, we can go on to the road of the manufacturers and system integrators. So I'm really happy to welcome Kevin from Crystal IS. So Kevin, the floor is yours, and we're looking forward to your talk.
Thank you very much. So let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, now perfect. Presentation mode.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I would like to start with our mission statement. Our company is dedicated towards creating smart UVC solution for healthy life and living around the world. So actually, Crystal IS only does UVC solutions. And so we don't do UVB, UVA LEDs, that's all we do, but that's something that we are absolutely passionate about. And I wanted also to mention a couple of brands under which you may recognize us, but so Crystal IS is a company we are fully owned by Asahi Kasei, our parent company, and we have two different brands, Claran for disinfection and Optan for sensoring and instrumentation. So today, when I will talk about Crystal IS, I'll be obviously focusing on Claran, which is our disinfection brand, but we have a wide range of applications around UVC, not just around the disinfection germicidal range. So I just wanted to write my email address. Please feel free to reach out anytime. And I'm also very happy to be back because in 2016, I was giving a talk around the opportunities of UVC LED technology for a variety of applications, including in space, which was the EPIC forum at Microphotonics Berlin. And so 4 years later, I'm happy to say that most of those predictions have realized. and so I'm here to talk about the next opportunities and challenges going forward. So who are we? Crystal IS is the leader in UVC LED technology. We're a very old company. So we've spent over 20 years, first as an R&D center, and then into a semiconductor fab just building substrates, then LEDs, then LED solution, so reactors, light engines, sensors, and then a characterization center. So we do microbial testing. We have microbiologists. We have a couple of different facilities for that. We have one in the US. We have one in Japan. So actually, in the graph that you showed earlier, Francesca, we would actually fit in a couple of different areas. So we are truly vertically integrated from the substrate all the way to the final product, which gives a lot of confidence in the reliability of production, manufacturing capability, and obviously product quality. We test every LEDs that we have. We manufacture millions of LEDs a year, so when we publish data, we have huge confidence because we have millions of data points for every LED. So we're also part of Asahi Kasei, which is a very large company. We have over 55,000 employees globally. And that gives us a lot of strengths in conquering our mission, which is actually to have a long-term vision. We are part of a huge group. We have massive financial backing. So we don't have to be short-sighted when it comes to developing UVC LED technology. We also, as part of Crystal IS, we have offices all over the world. We like to be very close to our customers, to our partners, and to the markets that we're in. So I showed on the map where we are as Crystal IS. I don't want to talk too much about the variety of our products. Feel free to ask questions afterwards. I mean, we have a lot of products, and our products are in a lot of commercial products that are but the point that I wanted to make is when we talk about UVC LEDs, there's actually there's two competing technologies in the market. So two UVC LEDs are not the same. And I think it will be very important to keep that in mind when you design. You can't swap one for the other. There's always adjustment. And so just having this, just bearing this in mind, we use one term to actually describe LEDs that are built differently, that emit light differently. And so this is what I'd like to spend time on, the two questions of EPIC. The first one is, what can we do for you? Our company is a go-to knowledge base. We publish on our website, we have well over 100 articles that range from the fundamentals of UVC LEDs to design consideration to testing protocols, health and safety, regulations, and they're written for a very wide audience. So that means some of them are extremely technical, some of them are not. And so I will invite everyone just to go on the website, clarion.com, Clarion University Knowledge Base. So this is the first thing that we can offer as a company. Clarion University is also a term that we use for the seminar, which is a 2-day seminar that we give. We've had over 30 companies that graduated from it, and over 2 full days, we try to teach all of our knowledge on UVC LEDs and UVC LED technology and solutions so that engineers, R&D leaders can bring it back into their companies and innovate with that knowledge because they know their applications in the markets much better than we do. But we know the technology better than they do. So this is a way to accelerate the development of this technology. The second thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm very excited to talk about this is a pre-announcement. It's actually the first time you'll see it anywhere. We'll make the official announcements shortly in the coming days, but we use EPIC as a platform to announce that we are launching a UV accelerator. So it will be on uvaccelerator.com. Crystal IS and Asahi Kasei are now will fund with substantial funds companies that are using UVC LED technology to innovate and launch products. This is something that we think is essential because people will have better ideas than we do in terms of final products, but we want to be with them, partnering with them, helping them going through all of the integration, because this is something that we've been doing for the past year, for a couple of years. So I'm very excited to announce this as something that we can do as well. So if anyone has any company, no matter how big the company is, and they want to partner and funding for this project, they can apply onto it on this website when it will be officially launched in the coming days. As to what can you do for us, this is, I will repeat some of what my colleagues said earlier, which is we, at Crystallize, we like to be close to our markets, and we like to be close to our customers. So we want partners to help us both understand markets, but also help specify industry needs. And this is essential because there is a big difference between industry needs and industry demands. And we've spent years educating people on seeing the difference, because obviously people are biased towards, oh, I want this because, so I will give the example of lifetime that we've just discussed. And this is something I was even teaching at university. You know, any LED manufacturer can give you a wide range of lifetimes because it's not a spec. It can be adapted. It's a variable. With current, with the way lifetime is described is so with B values, with C values. So the point is, what does the industry need? And this is often you will see a huge gap between the two. And our goal is to build products that are also commercially viable. So we want to make sure that we understand exactly what are the minimum requirements of a market and build towards that. So we build products for markets, we don't build products for applications. So partnering for that. The second, and I think Oliver mentioned it around standardization. We want to be connected to regulatory committees in Europe and all over the world to help the industry converge towards standards. And why? Because it will also be important for integrators to protect themselves against feel-good disinfection claims. And how do you do that when, if you know, you can make a claim for disinfection in a variety of ways, but there needs to be standards so that people work on an even playing field. And so we already, as a company, we are on the committees of a couple of standards, including Water Coolers Europe. And this is what we've been doing also for water. We'd love to be active and help define standards for air and surface. I think this is something that the entire industry needs, and we'd like to offer our support on this. So it was a very, very speedy presentation. Obviously, I'm happy to go into both technical and commercial. The last point, if you allow me, Francesca and Jose, to make, which was around price. I think Asaf and Simon mentioned it, and this is also something that, you know, when I joined, we were talking about hundreds of dollars in LED. Over the past year, I haven't seen a single application where price became a problem. So I would be very surprised. So if it is a problem today, I'd like to understand why it is. So again, it's about understanding the needs of the industry, and price is one of them. But you can improve lifetime, power, price, and reliability. But all of them is difficult. Sometimes you need to find trade-offs, but they can be found. So this is it for Crystallize.
Kevin, welcome back to EPIC. I remember your presentation in Berlin 2016. I was there, and it was really something for me like an eye-opener. I remember that after talking to you, I went to Seoul, and we talked for like 3 hours about what was the market on UV LEDs. And actually, they put together this slide, and this is already 3 years old. They were talking about the expected huge decrease of UVC LED prices for the disinfection and purification. And they said that actually in 2016 was the first time that the UV curing was no longer the dominant market for UVC. So for me, this is something that was really nice to see 3 years ago. I really like it. And if anybody wants this slide, I'm happy to send it. But what happened in the last 3 years? I know you are saying that the price is no longer, is not a limitation, but I don't agree on that. And you will see later when we talk to Boris from his application, the consumer market, he will tell you otherwise. What have you seen as a trend in the last 3 years in this market?
Well, it's required a lot of education. I think in the past 3 years, a lot of people have been much more aware of, you have to, it's a completely new technology, and you can't apply the design, system design that you had with one technology and just replace it by simply replacing with the other one. And so I do agree that the technology has improved massively in terms of power, in terms of reliability, in terms of efficiency, in terms of, but equally, the market has become much more aware of what are the right questions to ask and how to integrate this technology efficiently and what matters. So you also want to answer those questions. You don't want to over design and leave money on the table. So people have had this ability to now focus their questions, and I think this has been key especially over the past year.
Excellent. I have some people who are nodding along to everything you say, and especially one is the company GEW, which I believe is already a partner, but I'm going to ask Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you very much for joining us today with this very nice group of people. You have here a potential partnership with Crystal IS. What kind of things you can do together? And for those of you who don't know GEW, they make fantastic lamps for UV curing.
Absolutely. So I've been nodding along to much of the speakers because I think the industry is finally getting to the point where we kind of all have at least a common understanding of what's possible and where we need to go. And so much of what Crystal IS said and some of the other speakers is that if we focus on our own capabilities and just keep trying to make that capability better, and we're not paying attention to what actually the end use product requires, we are leaving money on the table. Systems either become over-engineered, which frustrates and disappoints users because they end up paying for something that they're not using. And in the same respect, when they're under-engineered and they're sold something and they're told it will work, and at the end of the day, for example, in the hospital, the surgical room installation, where it doesn't do what we're telling people, that does a disservice as well. So I think, my main point is that opportunities such as the meeting we're having today, as well as continued collaboration, understand what is needed throughout the supply chain so that we can actually accelerate adoption much quicker than it has over the last 15 years.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Kevin, you already answered the EPIC question, and for me, it's very important to ask you the following. I think you have a lot of potential partners and suppliers here. 2 challenges, 2 rooms for collaboration. I call this the Santa Claus Christmas list of photonics. What can you ask these people that is not yet available and you need it?
Well, if Christmas came early, I would say, and I would actually answer the 2 points that I made. One would be the ability to define what is success for disinfection in a variety of applications. And people will have to think beyond simple I'll give a very small example. Dose, irradiance times exposure time. This has been used all over the place to define what the dose is, but it's correct but this is right. This is the dose you get at a point in time. And now I'm going to ask the question: what if you are disinfecting high touch surfaces that somebody mentioned earlier, and 1,000 users came in during the day? You're not disinfecting between the users. So I think my personal feeling is this technology will find its spot when it can answer, when it will be automated, documented, and will help with compliance. So any applications that is still trying to replace wipes. So we talked about mercury lamps. Wipes is actually the incumbent in a lot of applications for surface disinfection. I will say, you don't want to just use the same model, have someone carry the lamp and the LEDs and disinfect. You want to rethink the model. And so when we'll be able... Sorry, Peter.
Thank you, Kevin, and welcome back to Epic. We missed you. It's been very long, 4 years. I want to see you more and more often. I want to see Crystal, of course, here. And I also want to introduce you to your potential partner in the field of disinfection. I'm extremely happy to have Bolb in the room. It's a company that I actually admire for what they have done lately on the field of UVC, attracting attention in one of the most difficult times in the history of this, at least this century. Peter, the floor and the attention of everyone is yours. Tell us about disinfection. Tell us about UVC.
Oh, thank you for the introduction and the invitation to participate with my industry colleagues. This has been a great discussion so far. Let me pull up my screen. And here we are, correct? We're good? So the benefit of being a little deeper into the meeting is that I have seen some great presentations from my colleagues in the industry. I've heard some great questions being asked and addressed. And I think we'll build on that in the next few minutes.
Yeah, Peter, are we in slide mode already?
I'm in slide mode, right?
So you may have two screens in front of you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because I think you're sharing the one that you don't want us to see.
Uh-oh.
No, that's okay. There are no secrets there. It's just all the rest of the slides.
Can you see the slides?
We can see it, but not in presentation. Now it's perfect, Bolb. The floor is yours.
Oh, yes. Excellent. So, again, I've repeated, it's great to participate. I do want to use this first slide to acknowledge our relationship with Laser Components. They're both our North American and European distribution channel partners. They bring unmatched business-to-business experience, of course. And one of the great benefits is that they're very technical and they're able to translate and communicate significant customer technical demands to us. And it's incumbent upon Bolb to respond to those to drive adoption and fast to market, release of solutions, faster revenue. So who are we? I don't want to give too much of the history because I want to focus on, we're here today, UVC LEDs are here today. They're being adopted at an accelerating pace. And I really just want to do forward looking here. But a nod to our founding team. You can see the pedigree is SETI, pedigree is LumaLEDs. This core group started 20 years ago with a DARPA-funded SUBOS program to create the first UVC LEDs, and that core group been at it 20 years, incredible technical experience. Then I want to give a nod to two integral parts of the leadership team. And the key point from this slide is that both these gentlemen from LumaLEDs got on the heights curve 15, 20 years ago with visible LEDs, rode it to high performance, low cost, addressing the verticals, really solving technical and business needs globally with that technology capability. And now they're part of our management team. And we're on the heights curve. We may be the only company on the heights curve because of our breakthrough. And they're going to enable us to go up that curve, increase performance, drive down costs, and see success across the board for the UVC LED space and its customers. So we promote professional use of UVC LED technology, and it's driven by 3 megatrends. And clearly, what we've talked about today is reducing exposures both for healthcare professionals, but also their clients. And here is a bulb emitter, 2,500 milliwatt array is in there, and it's used by a dentist. It's a good demonstration of partition space with LEDs, very targeted disinfection, very controlled disinfection. Safety precautions are in place. This particular unit was field tested in Wuhan in January, before January 14th, so we know it works. It's rigorous, it's robust, and it's perfect for close-in disinfection capabilities. Second slide shows that we want to protect the public, we want to grow economies, we want to get people back to work. So the key concept is for corporations, for the public, for services provided, for transportation, we want to instill confidence and renew trust in occupying shared space. So here's a little Bulb demo, tactical light used by the police, could be used by any other professional, really gets into where maybe a low pressure lamp or even chemistry can't get to. Great application, again, professional. And I'll make a slight adjustment to the third box. Definitely augment chemistry, particularly in a healthcare environment. Very well established, very regulated, very understood by infection control professionals. But certainly there's places that you can wholesale replace chemistry. Oliver Lawal is a perfect example. He's replaced chlorine in point of view systems with very efficient UVC LED systems. Bulb is active in that area, but we're particularly active in food safety and horticulture. So we have programs where we're replacing dangerous chemicals, fungicides, and insecticides with our LEDs to create more organic crops. Third slide, and this is the benefit of Frank Carter. It's his favorite slide, because this type of slide shows you what is known, and then below the surface, what's degrees of unknown. So in this case, we utilize this slide to show that we foresee an accessible market for UVC LED technology of $200 million in photonic components and level 2 arrays. And we foresee that under the water, as the adoption rate accelerates, it could be approaching $1 billion market. So I'm going to try to answer the epic questions of the day today, sort of what the input is, what Bulb would want from all the great partners that are speaking or about to speak, and what we would want to offer our customer base and our development partners. We have unannounced long-term development agreements. We're very close to alpha adopters in some of these verticals. And again, point of use, point of entry water. Very interesting point of entry, really drawing on packaging technology. Air treatment, in my opinion, is the crux of the matter in the COVID-19 world. I call it point of breathing. You could call it point of inhale, point of exhale. We want to be protected from our neighbors and co-occupants in space, whether that's an office, a subway, an airplane, a dental office. I think this represents the greatest growth opportunity for UVC LED, close in aerosol, small and large droplet interceptors. And the key input there may be the microbiology, because I don't think that's been explored to any of the extent that it needs to create viable solutions. So the challenge would be to the ASHRA and IUVA and microbiology community to really explore this, and Bulb has initiated some testing in this space. Core surface disinfection via fixture. So that's where we start looking more like the visible light industry, where we can have ubiquitous fixtures doing surface disinfection as the dental office, right? You get the light where you need it. No unused photons go scattering around a room. We're putting it where the worst case offending pathogens have a reservoir. We're working a lot with mobile chassis, a great development in our industry. First demonstrated by the low pressure lamp folks and their great robots. They're wheeling around hospitals. Now they're moving to less power hungry LEDs, and also within a meter, they can place the light where they want to put it. Great development, really good use of that mobility, especially if there's autonomous mobility. And then, as I also showed in the slides, a lot of portable emitters, but for professional use, we're not promoting UVC LED for consumer use. We want to keep it safe and efficacious and microbiologically validated. We have big inroads into auto cabin disinfection. That may be as aftermarket or in long-term integration into vehicles. New area for us is horticulture. We have a relationship with the USDA, Agri-Canada. We're looking at, again, as I alluded to earlier, replacement of dangerous chemicals with UVC LED generated light and organic food. We have a lot of initiatives with DOD and US that carries over to NATO countries. And what's interesting here is for force protection, these facilities are actually and have been testing our LEDs versus SARS-CoV-2 pathogens in complex fluids, because they want to make sure that the efficacy is in place so they don't put soldiers in harm's way. We do a lot of work in biogas sensors. Our devices are able to be lensed, and so it's a collimated beam. can do very good sensing. And of course, I think Jennifer's coming up next. We do now a lot of work with UV curing. We do support world-class equipment makers with dye. We have several relationships. They're able to pack the dye very closely together because it's high wall plug efficient. It's therefore low thermal management and other pass capabilities, and are able to make really cost-efficient, effective optical heads.
Fantastic, Peter. That's really how it's done. But I have questions. They are coming all the way from the YouTube universe asking me to ask you things. So I really like to have Bolb as the first that you are taking the UV LEDs and solving problems, making solutions. One of the questions I'm getting is from a person. I'm not allowed to reveal his customer, but he's a freelancer for a big company that makes displays for companies like KFC, McDonald's. And he's wondering, do you see a push for battery-driven instruments, handheld instruments in the market of purification disinfection?
Well, there's two ways of answering that. I'll go into this mode. So the good news about a high wall plug efficiency LED is it doesn't draw on battery power, so you get more life. So for the chassis, instead of using some low pressure lamps all the time, they use LEDs and they're DC driven, they get a long life. Our things we showed earlier, yes, we have battery powered capabilities, but by professionals, right? So in fact, the Intertech UL standards, it has to be met by healthcare or operated by healthcare trained professionals. So our work, and when we get our UL Intertech mark, is for healthcare professionals. That can be extended if the airlines have operators that are well trained, they can use this. If McDonald's has operators that are well trained, they can use this. But I'm not promoting a McDonald's customer going to buy a wine to use this at McDonald's. Again, I'm promoting safe operation. Okay,
which is good.
This is battery powered. In fact, we have batteries that run with the Blazer, so you don't have to have cords. You don't have to have tethered. They can put it where they need to put it in different occupied space without worrying about tripping over the wires. It's a much different paradigm than depending on low pressure lamps, for example.
Oh, we live in a world in which everybody now is coming up with fantastic ideas to take UV LEDs and solving every problem. And now we are seeing amazing ideas for face masks with UVC. We are seeing amazing ideas for you're going to see one in a couple of presentations. You're going to be amazed by what Boris can actually propose here. But when it comes to the rest of the supply chain, optics and testing, I think those two are two challenges that I want to address with you, with the rest of the supply chain. On the optics side, Mark from UPMT, what do you want to ask our friend Peter?
Well, we actually have relationships with some of the folks presenting and others, and we're very interested in improving the level 2 capability of arrays, because particularly like in point of entry or in a mobile chassis, you're going to have, although we have a large market for single emitters, those environments depend on very highly packed capabilities. So we're very excited to see the emphasis on packaging here.
Let me introduce you to one potential customer. Mark Villans from UPMT Villans in the beautiful Liège in Belgium. You wrote a question in the chat, and I also believe that the two of you, Peter and Mark, should work together. Mark, what's in your mind?
Yes, hello, Jose. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. And I must say, it was very interesting talk, and all the other talks also. So we are a small company. We are actually a very small company, and I see all these other people have already big businesses. But what we can do, what we are interested in, is in optics, as you said. So I was hearing arrays, and actually we are developing technologies related to the manufacturing of array optics. So I'm interested to know what would be the specifications, the materials and sizes and forms and accuracies that you're looking for if you're looking for optics.
That's a good question. I think if I get to my last slide, we'll get to Olga's contact information, and we can start a discussion around specific specifications. We do have sort of input from the market. We know some of the solution providers are asking us to provide this capability, and then we know what our devices are going to be today and about a year from now. So we're sort of doing that delicate balance of planning for the future, but getting things launched today, because as we know, our wall plug efficiency and our capabilities will improve. We're on that heights curve, right? So given those considerations, thermal management gets eased a little bit, a little less loss of those electrons, a little more optical power. You have a little more power to play with your optics. So all those come into play. But we're very welcome for your input, and all of you can take your contact information.
At some point, you talk about testing the UV LEDs. Is there some testing that you do in-house at Bolb, and how do you test?
Well, let me break that down into two types of tests. One is the characterization of the LED capability. That can be done at the wafer level during production. And it can also be done sort of as incoming QA and outgoing capability. And I would say the input to that, if we're looking for the epic question to be answered, is, and this is to the benefit and the congratulations of the IEVA and NIST, which is the standards organization of the Department of Commerce, that we're very active in looking at how to properly characterize the LEDs, because we borrow from the visible LED industry, but then there's specific issues with UVC LEDs. Some of the packaging issues are difficult because of materials. The thermal junction temperature relationship to the solder point's a little difficult because they're not as mature technology. So some very interesting testing, and I'm going to lean hard on NIST and their calibration capability, and it's funded, and our working group at the IEVA to really bring that to the forefront. Part two is microbiology validation. Again, Oliver alerted to the alert to the Wild West out there. Well, I think Marko and Kevin and others are looking for the sheriff, if that's the analogy, right? We really would like more regulation, but particularly, I think there has to be much more attention to the baseline testing of microbiologically efficacy, especially in COVID-19. It's a very complex aerosol, small or large droplet, and each one has its own characteristics. Astra, the air treatment folks, are pretty good at little aerosols. They're not so good at small, large droplets. The microbiology groups are very good at really big droplets on a glass slide, but they're not too good as you back off after that. So I think, as Kevin said, if you want to make really good systems that are optimized designs, that are at the right price point, feature set as a solution provider, you got to grapple with the microbiology, particularly airborne transmission, because we're wearing masks for some reason, right? So if we have to deal with airborne transmission, we got to deal with different size aerosols, small, large droplets that are complicated. Large droplets, not a small aerosol. They're different dynamics and fluids.
Thank you, Peter. Now that we touch about the testing part, I really need to hear the opinion of Oliver here, because one thing that when I asked Oliver about the Christmas list, he told me, no, we need faster production from the UVs. When it comes to testing, validation, don't tell us who are your suppliers or who are your non-suppliers, but is there, in your opinion, a further need for testing of the UVs?
Yes. So we can talk about system testing and application testing, and we can talk about design photonics. Design photonics side, we look at, really for me, there's about 6 parameters. So people talk about price, that's one parameter, but testing and understand, that's why we made a whole range of research products so that people could understand, okay, what's the difference between 265 nanometers and 275 nanometers? Does E. coli get killed more easily at one than another? What about lifetime and drive current? These are not characterized, I think, enough. And we spend a lot of time trying to characterize, when someone gives us an LED, okay, this LED here, how should we use this LED? And we have to spend a lot of time already understanding, okay, because the manufacturer tells us, oh, it will last 50,000 hours and you can drive it like crazy. And yeah, but we actually have to spend a lot of time qualifying that ourselves.
Well, you know, here I have spectrometers who can actually tell you within Armstrong's accuracy what is really the wavelength. So I really, and we just need to hear from the UV LED manufacturers what kind of testing systems they can incorporate in their solution. And on that, I think I have a question from Hani from CEA Leti. Hani. I have you muted and I want to hear your nice voice. Let me see. Now you go.
Okay, now. So one of the question, we know that when I was used to work on a chemical lab, we use UV for surface cleaning, but we know that UV in contact with air will generate ozone. So now we are talking about massive deployment of UV in different applications. One of them, for example, it will be automotive. How to prevent this reaction, because ozone is a toxic gas. One. Secondly, does the exposure of the ozone, or what we call the fluence, which is joule by centimeter square, have a minimum dose that should be respected in order to do not generate cancers, skin cancers, or other type of burning surface or something like that. So do we have some inputs here? Do you have something to share about what are the limit and what are the wavelengths that can react with some molecules and cannot react, which are the safer one?
I think this is something that on the UAVA, they actually have very, very interesting data that we can actually summarize into a presentation later. But I would like to say that part of this MOU that we are signing with them is to be able to also promote the reports within our association. So you will hear, CLT is a very active member of EPIC, you will hear something about this later. But all of you, prepare to hear something really, really, really special. When it comes to graphene, oh my God, CrayoNano, thank you very much for being with us today. Tell us how we can help you get even better than you are now. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Very nice presentation so far and very nice discussion. And I guess that I have to explain CrayoNano because we're a pretty new player on that market. And actually, you also placed us in the corner of, EPI wafer production, nanomaterials. Finally, we are also UVC LED chip maker and packaged chip components. And that is, of course, related to the background we have. So I would like to introduce CrayoNano as a nanotechnology company. And we are looking for solutions applying nanotechnology for sustainability and health applications. The UVC LED is just the first product we are launching in that kind of endeavor and also road to the sustaining solutions. We are currently in the commercialization phase of our first product of the UVC LED and plan to hit the market in Q3 2021. So that is a little bit ahead in the future, but that is also related to doing things very differently. And the origin of this different approach in applying new nanomaterials for also nanostructured semiconductors has its origin from the NTNU, the Technical University of Norway, the biggest one in Trondheim, where since 2005 nanophotonics had been established and also quite some R&D being done on nanomaterials, the physics of nanomaterials, and also related to their application in semiconductors. And that was also then in 2012, the origin of the foundation of CrayoNano, applying those results to nanophotonics devices. So we have quite a history on the material technology and also on the processing of them, and are applying those now to devices. Our offices and facilities are located in Trondheim in Norway, and Norway has also quite a big cluster of semiconductor-based technologies with several success stories, also in microprocessor chips, really with big global players. That is not very familiar maybe for everybody, but that is a very nice environment also to grow a semiconductor company. Our approach to realize UVC LEDs is a different one. So the important point is what we are looking for is applying new materials to overcome some of the issues you have when going with the approach of a thin film technology, which works brilliant in the general lighting and also in the UVA. But going to the material system of aluminum gallium nitride to UVC, the physical properties of the material system change a little. And because of that, thin film technology is facing some challenges. We didn't want to dive into solving those challenges in detail. We have chosen another approach by applying new materials and also different structuring to overcome these issues in a slightly different manner. What we apply in particular is graphene, which is also a material which is currently intensively investigated for many, many different applications. That could be just in lacquers for coatings, that could be in anti-friction applications, but it also has really great electrical conductive properties. It is highly flexible, and it is in addition also quite transparent to UVC light. So it is really an ideal electrode material for a semiconductor device. In particular for an LED in that case. We grow nanowires, aluminum gallium nitride nanowires on top of the graphene. So we are realizing tiny LEDs, nano-sized emitters. And that is, I think, the different approach. Instead of making big LED chips, we make a big chip with millions of tiny LEDs. And by that, we can also get a lot of strain and stress out of the material and grow the crystals with a very high quality. The high quality, in turn, is important for realizing a high efficiency of the device. And the approach has another very big advantage. As we are using these material, the graphene and also the nanowire approach, we can also avoid complex structures, which are then also partially applied as buffer layers for strain and stress compensation and other electrical functions. And that leads to the fact that the LEDs typically have a height of only a fifth of a standard thin film LED, and by that are also much faster to grow. And that is another drive we also had in applying these very different methodology for realizing UVC LEDs. It can also, by that, reuse the standard semiconductor equipment in the market, and that is also giving access to a highly scalable approach because these LED chips can be grown on standard blue LED thin film growth reactors. So the purpose and the goal, what we're targeting for, is 100% dedicated to enable UVC LED chips for new application markets, which should be high power, high performing, but also low cost in production, so that we can also realize a scalable production. And that is really important because the ultimate goal is for also facilitating a lot of what I would rather call commercial applications. That is where mercury lamps also had not a chance to penetrate because also of the mercury inside, of their bulkiness, and also finally due to the challenging costs you have when getting into really, really high volume applications. So the chips we want to provide finally as packaged chip product are targeting for lower manufacturing cost, higher efficiency and power output, and for that then facilitating applications, for instance, in faucets integrated in tap waters, then also in public domains, which is currently being discussed very often. These are the door opener knobs, the handrails, which should be cleaned, the car interiors for car sharing approaches. So very cost-sensitive applications also you see in white goods industry. If you want to have UV-enhanced cleaning in kitchen equipment like dishwashers, you can also have that in washing machines, in fridges, also for supporting freshness of food. And of course, there's also, which is part of our mission, plenty of applications in the health and environment. Directly also for blood analysis, a lot of analytical equipment. So that is really important for us when entering the market. We want to provide an enabling technology. We're 100% focusing on chip components, packaged chip components, not to get distracted by the UV application development. We want to get into volume with the chip business. So this is the first product, and we're currently building the supply chain. So that is also what I can tell. What we offer is providing the chip technology also of the future, which offers quite some advantages, but of course also a little time to go. We are developing also beyond the UVC LED other technology, which is based on nano materials and also nano structuring. So you also see that we will plan for different other products. It's also UV sensors that have issues in particular with lifetime and degradation. This same principle can be applied also for UV sensors. We can also realize in the next step nanotransistors. If you have these three components, nano LEDs, we also have. You could also realize single nano LED emitters for in situ applications. But finally, it's also coming up with a set of some portfolio which allows you also for nanoscale lab on the chip devices. So that is the ultimate goal we're targeting for applying these new materials and technologies for components business. What we're looking for clearly is strategic customers. We want to get into volume with the technology. It's also scalable, as I mentioned a little earlier. The nanostructures can be grown also of up to 8-inch wafers. That is what we have tested. We are currently transferring that to production level for scaling. And of course, by that, we are interested in partnering with customers who can generate that volume, who also have the corresponding market influence of penetrating the market with consumer products. But also on the supply chain side, we're looking for opportunities as we are also building a light fab approach. So the intention is not to build a big semiconductor foundry in Norway. We will also then transfer the products from our pilot line as recipes to big foundries where also standard semiconductor packaging processes, also growth processes can be realized. Yeah? So this is all about the idea providing a technology that can be scaled in volume on existing equipment in the market to provide finally attractive cost performance. That is really the important. We want to be an enabler for the technology for several photonics products in the future, and are looking for partners who also can support us on not only the definition of these new products and the parameters, but also on modeling of devices, of course, also for getting access quickly into the market. Testing qualification is also a very important topic for us. We will, of course, do also quite some testing in-house, but finally the testing in the field, that is the important information which is always required for these products. And it's not like in general lighting where you have these volumes where you easily can scale on statistical lifetime testing in the lab or in the production level. Typically, this is related also to experience from the field where we have very, very different applications with very, very different requirements. And that is why we're looking for strategic partners who have that volume and also who can share their experience on the performance and also the expectations of what a product needs to fulfill in high volume environments.
Thanks a lot, Michael, for your contribution. I guess you're
Thank
done,
you.
right?
Yes.
Great. Thanks. I mean, this is already the very epic spirit. So you already said also from the supply chain, what are your demands? So is there someone in the room who wants to comment about, for example, the optics, the micro optics that you might need, or maybe Simon from Jabil Optics wants to say something about your capability in volume production, or if there's a possible room for collaboration?
I would need to understand more how those units would compare to, let's say, standard UVC LEDs. So I just sent you a direct message. We should connect after the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Surely, yeah. So I can quickly comment on that. The product we're launching end of next year, so in Q3, is targeting for competitive performance to thin film UVC LEDs. That is what we need for the market entry, as the market is there. And of course, from there, we will go also into then volume scaling and also evolution of the product when getting into volume. Also, the performance will expect to grow. The goal we have with our approach is an efficiency of up to 30%, but that will also take a few years to realize.
Very good. So now I see we have a question from Jan from Morphotonics. If you want to ask yourself.
Yeah, Morphotonics is a small company in Eindhoven, in the Netherlands, and well, being a small company, we focus on larger area imprinting. So we make nanostructures on large area surfaces for high volume production. So we can structure a surface adding small nano features. Our typical resins are organic materials, acrylates. We could shift to other materials if being UV curable. And the question, of course, is whether this technology would be suitable for CrayoNano or maybe also for other optics on top of the LEDs. I fully understand that standard acrylate materials do yellow, but maybe there could be a benefit from it.
Yeah, so I would definitely also like to follow up maybe after the meeting, that we can have a direct dialogue on the possibilities. We are on one hand, of course, very much also interested on applications in the structuring in the semiconductor process itself, as we are also applying partially random structures, self-organized structures, but also very structured processes where we have the nano lithography or imprint solutions also. And I think there could be some applications also for that. Yeah.
Very good. So I guess now it's time for Jose and the advocate from YouTube.
Thank you very, very much from the YouTube universe, from one of the most beautiful cities in the whole UK, Bath, next to Bristol. They have a fantastic university, and they are Professor Pierre-Marie Coulon. He's asking a question for Michael. Nanowires are known to be more complicated to process into device compared to planar technology. How are they facing this issue?
Exactly. I mean, that is also why I pointed out that we have a history of 15 years on working on the nanophysics and nanotechnology in the processing. Of course, this is more difficult. That is also where a lot of know-how had been generated over the last many years. And that is also the core we can also then apply for different devices. That is not just focusing on the UVC LEDs. And of course, finally, the recipe itself, the growth control to make them uniform, that is the key. Because you can imagine if you have hundred thousands of nano LEDs potentially on a chip, you need to have them with very similar operation conditions. Yeah? So you need to have a very controlled dimensional growth, but also, of course, the structuring. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think eventually, Francesca, we need to organize one online technology meeting only on graphene technologies, because in this meeting so far, since 1st of April, we're casting at least 20 companies who are making a difference in this industry, and you are one of them, Michael. Thank you very much for being with us today. Back to Dr. Francesca.
The doctora now again. No, I just wanted to check if there is other comments about this technology. I know that Kevin before had his hand raised, but maybe it's now maybe too late to discuss that.
No, that was actually on the uniformity. So that was it's been solved. I was working on 2D materials before, so it's fascinating. Thanks, Mike.
Very good, very good. So now I guess it's time for Boris, right? I mean, it's really, we prepare all the floor, and now it's time for Boris for Wild Technology Consulting to let us know what he is preparing for us.
Is everyone prepared to hear something really special right now? I hope you're all prepared. Let me see the energy in the room. Everybody, thumbs up. Prepared to see something really cool. I really met Boris last week and he gave me goosebumps. Boris, what are you going to do to revolutionize this industry? The floor is yours.
Thank you for marketing our idea. Is everybody see my screen?
Not yet, but they are very excited about it now.
Okay. Well, okay. Just confirm that you see presentation.
Not yet. At the bottom of the screen, you have the arrow up, which is green, and it says share screen. When you press it, it will indicate your choices of which.
Oh, yeah.
There
Okay,
you go.
I think now.
Yes, fantastic.
Now it should be there.
Crystal clear as the display of a mobile phone. The floor is yours.
Okay, so our idea is to turn smartphone to self-disinfection device. Why do we need that? Because I mean everybody knows that smartphone is one of the most effective device for spreading bacteria and viruses. It has been known before, but this COVID situation made it very vivid. And it's not only smartphone, but any public touchscreen devices. But smartphone is the most efficient because everybody is using it more or less 24 hours a day. Now, what is the solution that we see on the market? So obviously stationary systems for the rooms. We saw some handheld UVC ones, but they are not effective and not safe, in fact. And also there are some devices based on equipment in the box. So you put this smartphone in a box, close the box, and it disinfects the touch screen. It is there, but obviously our solution we think is much more effective, and due to the following things. First of all, no equipment is necessary, so you don't need any separate boxes or lamps or anything like that. No additional power required. In this case, disinfection is handled by a device itself from the display panel through the display window. Now, we really think that we can get much better efficiency for this device, since the distance between UVC light source and disinfecting surface could be very, very short. It could be thickness of display window itself, and display window itself can be as short as 100 to 200 microns. Also, safety can be handled much better, because here you can use some safety app installed in the smartphone, which blocks the signal as soon as system feels that the display is not blocked by non-transparent materials. Now, how to do it, how to implement it, we suggested in our patent, which is filed, a few options. Some options use regular LEDs, some mini LEDs or micro LEDs, and this solution can be implemented on all major types of micro displays with currently produced LCDs or OLEDs, and also we believe in the future produced displays based on micro LEDs, which would be the most elegant and sexy approach. So what else? I would like to show you the direct head-to-head comparison between this technology and what you can see on the market. Like we definitely compete with manual wiping, but as somebody already mentioned before, you cannot manual wipe frequent enough to stop the spreading viruses and bacteria. And this technology can work absolutely automatically any time of the day and very frequently. Then this technology is much more efficient than antibacterial glass, like Corning glass, or antibacterial coatings, because both technologies that I mentioned right now are long-term technology. It means like they can kill bacteria during hours of operation. Our technology can kill bacteria and viruses within seconds. Also, as I said, as of safety, this can be very easily implemented. It means that embedded in smartphone sensors like touch sensors or camera sensors or ultrasonic sensors can feel when display is not blocked by non-transparent object and block UV transmission in all these cases. So your skin or eyes will never be exposed to UVC. And this can be done as simple as just placing your smartphone face down on the table, or install it into the this charging station, or placing in the pocket, or enclosing in the flip cover, or just closing the folding phone. So the safety solution is very simple. And here we are looking for prototyping partners. So different designs that we suggest require different capabilities. And I definitely saw at least 3-4 potential partners already in this audience. And also we're looking for some investors to fund this feasibility work for new and I would say disruptive technology that we suggest. Thank
Boris,
you very much.
Thank you so much. When I heard from you last week, I was really quite fascinated with the idea. You only share part of it. I know that there's a lot more behind, but I'm lucky that you are now in the EPIC network and you managed to share it with me. And I actually quite amazed with this. I think we have a couple of questions in the room. The first one is from Fraunhofer IOSB. Thomas, what's in your mind? Thomas, I think we have you muted right now and we want to hear you. In the meantime, I know the question, and I think I asked you the same question last week. What about the backside of the mobile phone?
Well, yeah, of course, backside of the mobile phone is not tackled with this technology. But having said that, the most contaminated and the most problematic part of the smartphone is touch sensor, for the obvious reasons that that's an area of smartphone where we touch all the time by fingers, and fingers are the most contaminated part of the hand. Like that's why if you remove the contamination from the touch sensor, that would remove it from, I mean, in 90% of cases. So the most contamination comes from touch sensor. It's no issue.
The second question is coming all the way from Grenoble. It's a beautiful city and they have beautiful technology. And I think he has a really, really, really good question. Hani, ask about the electronics.
Are you hearing me now?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. So one of the issues that in smartphone or any electronics, we are working on CMOS, which will drive the display. If we are talking about micro LEDs, we are targeting to have a micro LEDs working around 3 volts, 3.5. not 5 and 7 volt as UVC LEDs. So that's mean in your application, you need to develop a very new technology for CMOS, for very high swing CMOS. Are you taking this in consideration?
Well, not really, not now. I think that this issue can be solved later in our development cycle. Having said that, micro LEDs is not the only option. As I said, we have 4 different options, and micro LED is only one of them. Other options may use mini LEDs or even regular LEDs attached to some I cannot describe exactly design rules and integration schemes without NDA, but some schemes do not use micro LEDs. So, and regular LEDs can be used without any problems.
Okay, but is the power it's coming from the smartphone battery or an external system?
No, it should come from a smartphone battery. Yes.
So we have different backgrounds here, and we have from Harder Advisors, Frank Harder, here to ask you a question. Frank, what's in your mind?
Yeah, hey Boris, this is Frank. How do you envision to bring this technology to market? Would you like to work with a phone maker? I think you lost your earset. How do you envision to bring this technology to market? Do you envision to work with a mobile phone maker?
Well, it's one of the options, and I think that the most efficient way to do it would be to work with smartphone maker, of course. But at this stage, where we are at the early stage of development on prototyping. We can do prototyping with a value chain supplier, like starting from LED supplier. Of course, as I said, that it doesn't have to be LED supplier supplying micro LEDs, UVC micro LEDs. I think this is the extremely new technology, and I don't believe that anybody right now producing UVC micro LEDs in any commercial volumes. But starting first phases could be prototyping for the regular LEDs, and then moving forward in a few years from now, we'll move to micro LED options. So we are completely open to any cooperation on any levels.
Boris, you are asking about a mobile phone manufacturer. Thank you very much, Frank. I think we have one in the room. Torsten Wipierski, main technology scouting in Europe for Huawei Technologies. You have a question, right?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for the interesting presentation. I was wondering, you described you want to do the disinfection using UV light going through the display, if I understood you correctly. Can you explain that a little bit more in more detail? Because normally the material we use on the display is not really transparent for UV light.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, part of the deal will be to change regular display window. You're correct completely. Current display window will not be transparent to UVC, right? So we need to do to make it more transparent to UVC. It doesn't have to be 100% transparent or even 90% transparent. I would say 50% transparency would also do already. So first, which comes to mind is just to replace it with quartz or fused silica thin film. So we already talked to some glass manufacturers and some of smartphone manufacturers as well. And this has been one of the issues that we discussed, and obviously the cost issue also came up with changing from regular windows to fused silica or quartz. But then again, I mean, we're talking about smartphone product, which is extremely high volume product. At these volumes, when you change one material to another, even if initial cost of material is high, with such a rule of scale, the cost will be down precipitously.
Boris, this week you posted in LinkedIn something quite amazing. You didn't talk about mobile phones, you talk about displays for cash machines. And you said, I don't want a person to shout at the ping because that will never work. So voice control doesn't work there. You need to touch and everybody's touching. Is that the niche market? Because for me, it's even more promising for you.
That's another option. The public touch screens are also a big problem, right? And this solution can be done for public touchscreen as well. For public touchscreen, there is more. It will be a little harder to implement safety. So I explained what are our solutions for safety for smartphones. It's pretty straightforward, right? For public touchscreens, it's more elaborate solution for safety, but still can be done.
Boris, and buttons in elevators. I mean, the sky is your
everywhere.
oyster. Thank you, Boris, for a great presentation. We go from one application field, which in my opinion was one of the highlights today, to another one. We have sunlight solutions in the room today. Oliver, so far, what did you think of this meeting? And answer the epic question. What can you do for them? What can they do for you?
So good afternoon. Thank you for the time. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Super. First of all, thank you to all the presenters, because it is very interesting to learn a bit more and get deeper into the problems and also the potential that is along the value chain for UV light sources. We are a company that is working in the field of horticulture industry. And of course, our epic question is, how can we get rid of chemicals? So this was in one presentation from the company Bolb, for example. So we want to get rid of fungicides, pesticides, and herbicides along the road. We are today a provider of illumination solutions, simulation light, and indoor farms to grow the plants. But we come across a lot of problems down the road with these pesticides, and that's why I'm here today, and I'm learning. It's a perfect event for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. I hope you learn a lot.
This is great.
Yeah, so then it's really good that we are here and that someone can maybe afterwards talk to you, or if someone has questions already. Otherwise, we let him just wait for afterwards, because I believe they will be very interested in this topic, right?
Thank you.
So good. Then I guess we get to our last speaker of today. Also a topic that we didn't discuss deeply yet. So Jennifer already had the microphone so far, but now she has also a couple of slides. So thanks a lot for being here again. And then the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me share my screen and pull up my slides. A second. There we go. Is that visible to everybody?
Yes, crystal clear.
So I am, as we just stated, the last speaker. I'm going to take us in a little bit different direction, but it is entirely related to all of the talks that we've had so far today. My name is Jennifer Heathcote. I've been in UV curing since 1998, and I've been working on UV LED applications since 2007. And if we had stopped due to all the naysayers back in 2007 as to what was not possible with UV LED curing, there's no way we would be where we are today. So unfortunately, we have to just, listen to the industry, but we have to charge on, because the technology, the possibilities with LED technology, we've barely scratched the surface. And there are all sorts of arguments as to why this won't work or that won't work. But we have to keep charging forward, because that's the only way we learn. And if the last 15 years in using UV LED for curing has taught us anything, is that the technology is viable and it is where the industries are headed. So couple quick things on GEW. We focus on making UV curing systems for curing inks, coatings, and adhesives and all sorts of manufacturing applications. We are based in the UK near Gatwick Airport. Our US office is in Cleveland, Ohio. The company was started in 1991 by Malcolm and Gillian Ray, and we are now seeing the next generation with their children, Rob and Ellie, take over the company. So very solid organization with a lot of opportunities over the next coming decades. So what is UV LED curing? We've talked a lot about disinfection, purification, sterilization. Curing, it's a chemical reaction. People often think about it like drying, but it is not drying. Drying is when you apply a water-based or solvent-based material and you have to evaporate or flash off the water or the solvent. UV LED curing is a chemical reaction. When we expose certain wavelengths of light to chemistry that's been formulated to react to that light, you get an immediate, instantaneous, fraction of a second cross-linking that drives very functional and high-performing properties. You get incredibly bold and vibrant colors for printing. You get very hard, scratch-resistant, anti-marring top coats. You get adhesive-like properties that either they bond permanently or release when needed. So using UV light in processing applications just expands the opportunities of the functional properties that we can generate. Those inks, coatings, and adhesives can be applied to webs, sheets, and 3D parts. And it's all sorts of materials. That can be paper, which is corrugated or folding carton, films, foils, rigid plastic, glass, metal, wood, ceramics, composites. The list goes on. We use UV curing to produce products. The coatings give properties that you can't achieve in other ways. So it's used in the production of a wide range of products, from furniture to fiber optics to flooring to eyeglass lenses, automotive parts. It's used to decorate products, whether we're printing directly on the items or if we are applying a pressure sensitive adhesive or a label. And it's also used for the packaging. UV curing is used in making corrugated lamination. It's used to make folding carton. It's used to make flexible packaging that contains all of the industrial and consumer goods that we use throughout our lives. UV curing is a very environmentally friendly process. Because there are no solvents, we're eliminating all the volatile organic compounds, the hazardous air pollutants, the greenhouse gases, and we're also eliminating all of those energy consuming and long space hogs, such as drying tunnels, as well as the afterburners that just unnecessarily run to flash off and to burn the flashed off solvents. That is what works for UV curing in general, but when you go to LED, it becomes a very highly controllable, highly reliable, and repeatable process. So a curing system has multiple components. You have the UV LED lamp head, the power and the controls, as well as the chillers, and then you have to configure that into a package that's designed to work in the manufacturing system. GEW focuses on several markets. You've got commercial printing, where the print is the product, such as menus, stationery, catalogs, brochures. You've got label converting, packaging converting, product decoration, coating, converting, and finishing, and all sorts of industrial applications. This is the slide that I really want to focus on because I think it captures everything that we've talked about today. Many of us kind of focus within the silo of what our expertise is, and we really try to make the services and the products that we supply in that category as best as they can be, but they really have to work throughout the supply chain. So as many as you know, you take the raw diodes and you construct the modules that go into the lamp head assemblies that form the complete system. A complete system is going to have the cooling, the power, the controls, the mounting brackets, everything that's necessary to put it into machines. Those machines may need a 75 millimeter wide array. They may need a 2000 millimeter wide array. They may need something that's powered with, tens of watts and something that's powered with thousands of watts and everything in between. But a UV LED curing system, it's just a production tool. The value, and while we may all have our passion in explaining what the value is in the product, the real value is generating that integration and performance within the larger manufacturing process. So the UV LED output has to be matched to the formulation. And that's where adoption really is required in curing, because it's a chemical reaction, we have to formulate that material to the light, which means the light output has to be designed for what the chemistry is looking for. And then that formulation and the light source has to be matched to the application. There are lots of different ways to print. There are lots of different ways to coat. And there are lots of different ways to apply formulations. And those lights have to be matched to what that technology requires. as well as the manufacturing process. We talked about wavelength, we've talked about the irradiance, which is watts per square centimeter, and what we've referred to as the energy density or the dose. To me, we really need to be focusing on that energy density component. I believe we've got enough irradiance, but when we start pushing speeds that are 300 meters per minute, 400 meters per minute, we just need a lot more total energy being delivered. And that means the cooling of the device is incredibly important. The efficiency is important as well. And then we have to mount that into machines. These machines span the whole gamut of manufacturing technology, and the lamps have to fit, be user-friendly, and deliver the final product. Ancillary equipment, that might be nitrogen inertion, that might be surface treatment. There are all additional things that have to make UV LED chemistry work. And then they have to deliver the final production properties. The lights have to drive this, and we have to work throughout the supply chain to make sure that we are delivering the right properties as well as the final quality checks. Because in the end, this 12th slide, this 12th box here, that's really what all of us are trying to achieve, isn't it? It's getting our customers to use the technology to meet their goal, whether it's curing or disinfection or purification or sterilization. So we have to collaborate through all of these blocks in order for all of us to be successful and drive the adoption of UV LED technology. So with that, I will open it up to questions and further the conversation.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. This is your first ever EPIC meeting, and you know the drill by now, right? You have to answer the EPIC question.
So the number one thing that GEW does is we supply UV curing systems for inks, coatings, and adhesives. Many of the companies that are participating today use UV cure technology in their manufacturing process. Right now, where we're at is customers tend to want off-the-shelf products. And when you're in a state of development, off-the-shelf doesn't exist. Nobody wants to be first. So UV LED, while we've got many successes, and there are things, in my opinion, that are almost off-the-shelf, we are still in a state of development. So we are here to work and support. We want to know where people want to use UV curing, where LED technology makes sense, and so that we can partner with customers on an applications perspective and design the systems to match those needs. And we are here to help educate the supply chain.
Let's educate the supply chain. The supply chain has questions to you.
Yes.
The first one is coming from laser components. Olga.
Yeah, I have two questions. The first is in the UV curing, the LEDs are already used since several years, and mainly UVA. What are the requirements for UVC LEDs? And second question, I tell both. The second question, we all speak about Corona today.
Yeah.
Do you feel any Corona effects on your application?
In terms of
is
increase,
more, is it less? Is it something different?
Okay. So in terms of UVC, chemistry is formulated to respond to different wavelengths of light. The longer UVA wavelengths work very well with heavily pigmented inks. So for printing, we've managed to find ways to make UVA work in the absence of UVC. Where UVC is absolutely going to be necessary is in industrial coatings that require wavelengths to cure the surface in a much different way than UVA does. So when you look at automotive, you look at transportation, you look at heavy industry that uses conventional broadband lamps, we have not been able to replicate that using UVA alone. So UVC will absolutely be necessary for the more industrial curing applications. And in terms of Corona, how has Corona affected our industry? I mean, I can answer that in many different ways. From a productivity standpoint, many of the customers that use UV curing for printing, whether that's printing flexible packaging, whether that's printing corrugated boxes for shipping, those customers are running very, very, very intense. You know, their demand from their customers to supply the types of goods that we're using in our homes, that we're buying from the stores to treat Corona, all of that is putting a lot of demand for our industry to supply those products. In terms of how has Corona maybe affected us from a business development standpoint, companies aren't necessarily investing in as much capital equipment right now. So I think capital equipment purchases are a little bit soft compared to where they were last year. but that doesn't mean innovation has slowed. There's a lot of development, there's a lot of application, understanding and learnings that are happening right now, while things might be a little bit soft in terms of investment and capital. So I'm not sure if that was what you were looking for, but
well, the answer was 100% on the spot and was 100% right, and it's the conclusion of many of the COVID-19 related events that we had in the last 2 months. Question from Ophir.
Hi, Jennifer. Simon here.
Hello.
My question would be, what are you focusing on at the light quality measurement of your solutions? So do you focus on overall irradiance distribution of the final system, or the radiant powers? And how do you measure this?
Great question. Great question. We're merging two worlds. And so you've got this mix of terminology in terms of measurement that's infiltrating from the semiconductor world. But then you also have the application measurement that has always existed in the application side of it. So in terms of development and R&D and system manufacture, we're still using integrating spheres. We're using radiometers. You know, we're measuring output. From an applications perspective, which is where I tend to focus, what matters is the amount of UV that's reaching the cure surface. And the amount of UV that reaches the cure surface for something that is 3 millimeters away is very different from something that's reaching a cure surface that might be 200 millimeters away or 400 millimeters away. And so what the end users are interested in is, how do I know that I'm getting the amount of energy I need at the surface, not out of the device? We can measure output from the device for process control and make sure that nothing's changing. But from a cure perspective, we need to deliver the correct amount to the cure surface. So the irradiance, the watts per square centimeter with LED UVA, is already much higher than anything we ever did with mercury. So I feel very comfortable with the values that we're getting, but as we move further away, you do need optics. You need to collimate the light. You need to allow it to travel that distance, and then you need to be able to measure it real time on the press. So it spans the gamut. We use a mix of probably everything that all the other suppliers are using, and then we're using different things in the field.
Jennifer, you know what? In a couple of weeks, I think it's 2 weeks and a half, we're organizing an event on lithography. And I hereby invite you to meet many of your potential customers.
Lots of UV and lithography.
It has been a great, fantastic meeting. I enjoyed a lot. I'm going to give the floor to my champion. I always appoint a champion. The champion of today is my friend Oliver from AquiSense. Give me a final remark before I give you mine.
I have loved it today. I've loved it. I think we all want more UVC LEDs in real solutions. I think we all agree on that. I think what we all need to do is think to ourselves, what can we impact? Can we impact increased efficiency? If you work for an LED supplier, can you impact decreased cost? Can we make really clever engineering? Wild had some really wild concepts, but how do we really engineer that into a real solution? Regulatory, be part of that regulatory to push the technology forward. And I don't know, I love it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
The first of many. Remember, we are epic and we want you here because you are epic too. If anybody would like to give a final remark, of course, that's their chance. For me, this is my final remark. I really talk a lot today about cost with the very, very high hope, especially from the integrators saying, I'm not that worried about cost. I really love, especially when we heard that it never heard of any application didn't happen because of cost. That for me was the statement of today. And we talk about really other problems that the integrators have, that testing, efficiency, production speed, on-field testing, and those for me are the challenges that this supply chain is having. And actually that was corroborated by many of you. The main challenge really is the parameters for instrumentation testing. And there is where I see the collaboration between EPIC and AUVA as the next paradigm shift. We need to have the regulatory documents not only there, but also understood by the supply chain and usable. And I think there on the clinical as well as the horticulture is really what I call the low-hanging fruit. In the disinfection side, of course, this is the COVID-19 times. There's a lot of hype and a lot of potential business opportunities. Differentiating both is of course, something that is going to require some time. But we had a really interesting set of parameters when it came to the exposure time between seconds to minutes. And I think we can already go with this to different system integrators and ask them, is this what the your customers need. I have selected here a few pictures from the presentations and also one from our market report on UV, which still, when we publish this for people to have a look at, they will actually still remember that we are talking about a wavelength range with different application fields and also some dangerous wavelengths that can give us some problems with the skin. It has been an epic meeting. I really loved it. I really love working with you. I really love my job in days like this, and I really love Francesca. Francesca and all of you, thank you for being epic. Take care, stay healthy. Goodbye.
Thank you for my
Bye.
side as well.
Thank you.
It was great.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.